ED bans me from my little siblings' lives because I wouldn't meet him on his terms. So I, 31M, was raised mostly by my grandparents. My mom, 50F, lived with us but was verbally abusive and somewhat absent. My dad, 51M, never lived with me and wasn't involved in my day-to-day life. He and my mom never married, and I lived only with my grandparents, starting in 10th grade. My dad had custody of my younger half-brother, now 27M, and eventually married my second stepmom, 50F, who had 2 kids of her own. Together, they also had 2 younger children, who are now 13 and 8. Growing up, my dad rarely showed up to my sports games, school events, or even Father's Day. He rarely contributed financially. I found out when I was 18 that he had been failing to keep up with his child support, and when I confronted him about it, he blew up on me and said he wished he never met my mom. He then ghosted me for 6 months until I reached out again on his birthday, trying to be the bigger person. From my late teens through my 20s, I was always the one initiating contact. Despite moving almost 2 hours away for university, I was the one planning visits, buying gifts for his younger kids, reaching out for birthdays, holidays, etc. He rarely reciprocated. I've only ever been invited to a few things. When I moved out in 2021 with my partner, after uni I moved back with my grandparents for a few years, I started pulling back a bit. At that point, I had also started therapy for physical and mental health issues and began unpacking a lot of family trauma. My half-brother, his son 27M, went no contact with him 5 years ago and moved out due to physical abuse, verbal abuse, and I also found out that similar things happened with his ex, my first stepmom, and my mom. Knowing this, I didn't feel safe being emotionally vulnerable with him, especially because he tends to lash out when confronted. In 2023, I reached out to make Christmas plans, like I always do, and my stepmom said my dad was sick. I followed up a few weeks later offering to drop off gifts for the kids, but didn't get a response for another month. When my dad finally replied, it was out of the blue, he said my stepsister, 22F, and him got into an argument and she made a comment that I wanted nothing to do with him, and then texted me, "Have a nice life." I clarified that I never said that and tried to have a real conversation about how distant our relationship has been. I asked if we could meet one-on-one. He said he'd get back to me. I also asked what happened between them, but he wouldn't tell me. Shortly after, I found out my stepsister had called 911 on him for how he was treating the youngest kids, which is what started their argument. He also sent a threatening message to my half-brother, the one who went no contact, saying he'd show up at his work to fight him, and my stepbrother, 29M, and him exchanged words too. When I asked my stepmom what was going on, she claimed to know nothing. I suggested to talk as a family to put an end to all this, but none of my siblings were down, and I asked my dad to let me know his schedule so we could meet one-on-one, and invited him to come over to my place since he, my 2 step-siblings, and my 2 youngest half-siblings all live together under my stepmom's roof. My dad said he'd let me know. 9 months went by and I didn't hear from him. I then found out that I wasn't invited to my youngest sibling's birthday, which was a first. Even my step-siblings, who have never gotten along with my dad, still got invites. And prior to this, my half-brother, who went no contact, would get invited. When I asked my dad and stepmom why, my dad told me he said not to invite me. I said that made no sense, considering I had been reaching out to still wish happy birthdays, holidays, Father's Day to them while waiting for him to get back to me, and he never did. Eventually, my stepmom offered to schedule a meeting with the 3 of us. My dad agreed, and then tried to cancel behind her back so she wouldn't be there and asked when I can meet one-on-one. I refused to change the date since he never got back to me last time for 9 months, and the only time he tried to meet up was twice before. Once he messaged me near midnight to meet up first thing in the morning, but I had plans, and another time after I called him out about the birthday, he asked if I could meet same day during work hours. So when I said let's stick to the plan with my stepmom, he flipped out, berated me, threatened me, called me names. I blocked him. My stepmom said she understood and offered to bring the kids to visit me instead so I could still give them their Christmas gifts because by this time it was almost Christmas of 2024. But days before the visit, she told me my dad forbade her from letting me see the kids and that he was cutting me off until I was man enough to speak to him, which confused me. Because I'd asked to meet and for him to let me know his schedule so we could plan a date in advance multiple times, and he kept ghosting or suggesting impossible times, like texting me at midnight or during work hours for same-day plans. Since then, my stepmom has chosen to side with him. She admitted he was wrong, but said she wouldn't argue with him, so I stopped reaching out to them. I didn't message her Happy Mother's Day or either of them Happy Birthday this year. To clarify, I'm still open to speaking with my stepmom. She's reached out to me a few times over text. A few months after this, all went down to send me pictures of my youngest half-siblings, and we've talked, but I just am exhausted from all this, and them pretending like nothing has happened. Comments. Unfortunately, this is a done deal. You would do better to just move on. I'm sorry you've lost your family, but that's what your father wants and has orchestrated. It isn't going to change. If you can get to see some of the kids, then do so, but just forget about the man who was your sperm donor, because that is absolutely all he is. It may be hard even after all the BS you've been through, but the sooner you stop trying to communicate with him, the sooner you will adjust to it and be happy. He is 100% worthless, and the sooner you accept that, the better you will feel without the ongoing attempts and consternation. Stop. Just stop. He is unable to be your parent. He is unwilling to be your parent. Try to make yourself your own priority. Envelop yourself with your favorite activities, things, and people. If you can find a therapist to walk through the leaving and your expectations, good luck. Your dad is an abuser. I hope the younger kids and stepmom are not being abused. I question why you would want to arrange getting everyone together. It is not your responsibility. I am sorry for the younger kids. I hope their mom steps up for them. I would encourage you to volunteer with others in your community. For some reason, it seems like when we volunteer, we get good affirmations, and it is independent from family issues. Please volunteer and do nice things for yourself, and continue with therapy. Your parents have not met your needs, and you sound like someone who was parentified and wants to be a fixer. Sadly, you cannot fix this.